Okay, let's dive right in. Retiring in Los Angeles. You know, LA, famous for freeways, sprawl. Thinking about a quiet, car-free retirement there, it sounds, well, almost contradictory, doesn't it?
It really does, yeah. It goes against that typical image of LA, bumper to bumper traffic, not leisurely walks or easy bus rides.
Exactly. So we're going to tackle this head on today, and we're using insights from someone who really knows LA, Perchance to Read, a native Angelino, but also someone who's lived and worked all over the world.
Right, and that comparison is key. They've navigated all sorts of transport systems. Perchance to Read calls it an average young life expat background. That experience gives their views on LA, well, a lot of weight.
Yeah, they're not just stuck in LA traffic. They've seen how other big cities work transportation-wise. So the big question for this deep dive, drawing from Perchance to Read's experience, especially from their recent video on this, is just how essential is a car if you want a comfortable retirement in Los Angeles? And maybe, do LA's transport issues hint at similar hidden car dependencies elsewhere, even in places that look retirement-friendly? By the way, you can find Perchance to Read and their video analysis over on Spoutable. The handle is Perchance to Read.
That's a really important angle. We're basically looking at LA's sprawl through the eyes of someone who can compare it directly to, well, norms elsewhere. Which brings us straight to Perchance to Read's main point. They spell it out very clearly in the video.
And it's pretty blunt, right? If you're seriously thinking about retiring in LA,
yeah,
plan on needing a car.
Yeah.
Like from day one. Assume it's essential right away.
Absolutely. And Perchance to Read explains this isn't, a new problem. LA was basically designed and built around the car right from the early days. That car-centric design really shaped the whole city layout.
So it's not just about the traffic jams we see now. Perchance to Read is saying the way neighborhoods were laid out, the distances, the lack of easy connections without driving.
Yeah.
That was kind of baked in from the start. It challenges that idea that any huge city automatically has great non-car options for daily life.
Precisely. You'd think a city as big as LA would have, amazing public transport covering everything. But Perchance to Read's experience suggests, well, maybe think again about relying only on buses and trains there.
Perchance to Read does acknowledge LA has public transport. There's the metro buses. And importantly, they mentioned the accessibility features, for wheelchairs and stuff.
Yes, definitely points that out. But then they use this really great metaphor, the raindrop metaphor. Imagine raindrops falling on a huge map. Those are the transit routes.
And the point is, all the dry space between the raindrops, right? Huge areas of the city just aren't well served. Or getting between places served by different raindrops is really hard. And this fragmented system isn't an accident, is it? Unlike older European cities that built dense networks before cars dominated, LA grew up with the car. So the infrastructure reflects that.
Exactly. So think about everyday stuff. A doctor's appointment over here, then meeting friends way over there. Driving might be, say, 30 minutes, but on public transport, it could easily become this huge journey with, multiple transfers, long waits. It just wasn't designed for that kind of varied point-to-point travel that people actually do.
Yeah, that raindrop image really hits home. Especially when you compare it to London or Paris, where the transit feels like a dense web you can use for almost anything, anytime. Perchance to Read notes LA's system seems very focused on the 9-to-5 commuter rush.
A much narrower focus, yeah. And retirees. Their schedules aren't usually tied to that peak commute time. They need to run errands, go to appointments, see people, all at different times. That commuter system might not work well for them.
Okay, so public transport. It's there, but coverage and practicality are limited. What about cycling? Sunny Southern California. That sounds ideal for biking, maybe.
You'd think so. The weather's great. But Perchance to Read paints a different picture. They argue LA is just too big, too spread out. And the roads themselves, designed for cars first, all that has stopped a real widespread cycling culture from taking root.
It takes more than just sun, doesn't it? You need the actual infrastructure, safe bike lanes, connected roads.
Exactly. Think about those wide boulevards, multiple lanes of fast traffic. There often aren't dedicated protected bike lanes, so cycling long distances, especially if you're older, can feel unsafe or just really unpleasant.
Perchance to Read also touches on scooters and rental bikes, right?
Yeah, they mention them, but those tend to be clustered in certain spots like downtown, maybe some flatter areas. They might not be easily available right where you live for your everyday trips.
And another big factor Perchance to Read brings up hills. LA isn't all flat.
Not at all. A lot of residential areas are pretty hilly. That makes cycling and honestly even walking much more challenging.
Okay, so that brings us to walking. Good weather seems logical for local trips.
It does seem logical, but again, Perchance to Read points out the distances, even for local errands, can be surprisingly long, and the pedestrian infrastructure away from main shopping streets. Often not great. Perchance to Read actually shared an example. Trying to get to two relatively nearby places took over 3 hours using buses because of the schedules and transfers. Just shows the practical hurdles. They also talk about, having to cross massive parking lots or walk along noisy roads with maybe just a narrow strip of sidewalk, even for short distances. It's not like, say, New York, where walking and transit just flow together.
You just keep circling back to that car-first design philosophy, doesn't it?
It really does. Okay, so public transport has gaps, cycling has issues, walking is limited. What about ride-sharing? They're everywhere in LA.
Yeah, definitely easy to get one.
For sure. And Perchance to Read says, yeah, they're useful sometimes. If you need a designated driver or maybe late at night, emergencies.
Right, specific situations.
Yeah.
But relying on them for everything, every day.
That's where Perchance to Read pumps the brakes a bit. They talk about practicality, waiting times can be iffy, pickup spots might not always feel safe or convenient.
And the cost. Those fares must add up incredibly fast.
That's the other big thing. Perchance to Read suggests that if you add up all those ride-sharing trips for your daily needs in retirement, the total cost could easily end up being more than just owning and maintaining your own car.
Wow. Okay, so that brings us right back to Perchance to Read's main takeaway, their firm conclusion from all this.
Yeah, if you're planning to retire in LA, just assume you need a car. Plan for it from day one. Perchance to Read uses the word stranded. You could feel pretty isolated without one pretty quickly. It's about basic access and independence.
Right. Simple things like grocery shopping or getting to the doctor become major planning exercises without your own vehicle.
Now, Perchance to Read does mention, there's talk about future improvements. The 2028 Olympics are coming up. There's discussion about making things more bike-friendly, maybe expanding transit hours, even 24-hour service, perhaps.
Okay, so there's potential for things to get better.
Potential, yes. But Perchance to Read adds a dose of skepticism based on, past promises and how long real, lasting, citywide change takes.
That historical context again. Big plans don't always translate into reality on the ground, or at least not quickly or everywhere.
So the really practical advice from Perchance to Read for anyone looking at LA retirement boils down to the budget. You absolutely must factor in the significant ongoing costs of having a car.
Absolutely. Buying it, insurance, gas repairs, maintenance. It's a major recurring expense. You can't just ignore it and hope for the best if you want to live comfortably and, get around easily in LA. That's Perchance to Read's clear message.
Yep. Don't assume you can manage without one. Their advice is clear. Treat the car cost as a necessary budget line item, not just an optional extra.
That's really solid practical advice. Okay, so wrapping up, Perchance to Read leaves us with a broader question, one that applies beyond LA for anyone planning retirement.
Right. Are these transport challenges we've discussed really unique to LA? Or could other cities, even ones that seem walkable or transit-friendly on the surface, could they also have these kind of hidden dependencies on cars that you only discover once you're living there? Requires a closer look.
It's a reminder to really dig deep, isn't it? Go beyond the glossy brochures when you're researching retirement spots. Think about the day-to-day reality of getting around.
Yeah, think about transport for everything. Essential services, doctors, seeing friends, not just occasional fun trips. Even a charming small town that feels walkable might lack good options for longer trips, like getting to a specialist hospital outside town.
So summing up this deep dive into Perchance to Read's view, their extensive experience, both in LA and globally, strongly suggests retiring in LA without a car. Probably unrealistic if you want independence and convenience.
Yeah, based on their analysis in their video, the current public transport, the cycling conditions, the walking limitations, they just don't add up to a reliable alternative to owning a car for most retirement needs in LA right now.
Which leaves us with a final thought for you, the listener. If truly reliable, comprehensive public transport is high on your retirement checklist, how deeply have you actually researched your top city choices? Beyond just the initial impression or what the official website says.
And thinking specifically about Los Angeles again, how does this near certainty of needing a car fit with your personal priorities, your budget, your vision for retirement? Is that car requirement just a manageable detail for you, or could it be, a deal breaker? Definitely something crucial to mull over as you plan.